Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for hosting this Linux Recruit, and thank you all for being here. So this is a highly contentious topic because I'm assuming there's a lot of Debian fans around here. I'm one of them. That's why I really want to make this present this talk. My name is Henrique Rodrigues. It's actually my 5th time presenting on DevOps-Exchange, and I was told that on the 5th presentation there will be pizza. I'm the DevOps manager at LYTT, which essentially, in a nutshell, we use fiber optic cables as microphones to listen inside, say, for example, gas and oil wells or water pipes, and we can listen to what's going on inside those pipes and wells. And overall, I'm a huge GNU Linux nerd, and you know I am because I use GNU Linux, and that's my email if you want to reach out to me. I don't have any social media. So once again, why should you spend some time listening to what I have to say? So I've been using Linux since 1999, technically a month before the Matrix came out. So when I started using Linux, I don't know what the Matrix was. I've used all sorts of Linux distributions and architectures. Do you know you can run Linux on a Dreamcast with Gentoo? Yay. So PowerPC was my main line for a number of years. Spark, x86, etc. All sorts of old-time distributions and new ones. I've been around the block. Many years of professional experience and working for free before I learned you can actually make some good money. And I also have a beard and long hair, and according to this stereotype, I also like metal, so I'm probably a good guy to present this. Oh, I also remember the first time I learned about Debian. The exact spot. I remember who I was talking to. I remember it was Debian 2.2 at the time. I don't remember the year. And you know that Debian takes a long time for those releases. So it's between 2002 and 2004, I think. And I remember being just blown away. Oh, you can do that? It's not like Slackware. You'll have to download the packages. You can do apt-update. That's great. So this is my agenda for today. And I do have an agenda. It's not just a table of contents. I do have an agenda. I want people to know more about this because Debian is such a basis, such a huge basis for all computing in general, right? It's embedded into almost everything that we do. And I really want to spread the word. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about CVEs, if you don't know what those are. Then I want to explain objectively why I think Debian is not secure. I want to check the status of other GNU Linux distributions, and also because this is a DevOps meetup, you have to talk about containers, you have to talk about Docker, you have to talk about CI. That's the cool thing to do. So CVEs are nothing more than just a big database of vulnerabilities. And if you think you found a vulnerability, you can request for a CVE number to be assigned to that specific vulnerability, and then everybody can talk the same language. So if there's a vulnerability to glibc, for example, you know it's one vulnerability. Lots of packages are affected, lots of different products are affected, but it's just the one vulnerability. And transparent vendors will keep a list of the CVEs that affect their products at a given time. And when you check the READMEs or if you get the changelog, you'll know they fixed this and that and the other thing. And Linux distros are not different from that. So for example, Debian does have, it's very transparent. And it does have a security bug tracker that you can check. You can see all the CVEs that apply to Debian for all the distributions that they have, all the versions that they have. So stable, all stable. testing and SID. And the thing that pains me a little bit is that Debian takes more care of the testing and the unstable version than stable. So if you go and check, I didn't do any sort of statistics on this or examples, because if I presented an example today, you go home and you check yourself, it might be different. It changes all the time. But if you check, you'd see that stable will be lagging behind. There are a lot of vulnerabilities that you see. They're fixed on testing, so the next version of Debian, they're fixed on SID, but they're not on stable. And this is very important if you're working on an enterprise level, from an auditor's point of view. He will then want to see what are your processes, and are you running any vulnerable software, and if you're based what you do on Debian, you're going to get caught on this. And it's the reason why I'm presenting right now, and because I was caught on this. I was very happy using my Debian to do my stuff, and then, ooh, something's wrong here. Yeah, so if you have a Debian-based Docker image, I highly recommend that you run some tests against it and feel what I feel: betrayal. Okay, so not all distributions have a security tracker. My favorite is Gentoo, one of those Ricer guys. And the only thing that Gentoo does is they release security advisors from time to time. They say, oh, we fixed this, but they don't tell you what they haven't fixed. And if you're using Debian and you want to move to something else, the thing that gives you the less amount of effort would be Ubuntu, because it's roughly the same thing. And Ubuntu takes care of those CVEs really well. So there's a lot of stuff that you see in Debian that it hasn't been fixed in stable. Chances are that if you check the Ubuntu tracker, it was fixed through them. Now, your mileage may vary. There are some vulnerabilities that haven't even been fixed upstream. There are some vulnerabilities that are there but haven't been disclosed yet, so you don't know what's going on. So those will show up in both of them. OpenSUSE also does a great job. And I mean, it's free. I'm not going to talk about SUSE or Red Hat because I don't have access to those systems. Alpine does okay as well. So these are roughly the distributions that I care about. There are some others, and I'm going to present a tool here that checks for that. And since I started using it roughly a year ago, they've added support for a lot more distributions as well. So things like Amazon Linux, it's supported. But I tend not to use RPM-based distributions. I mean, although OpenSUSE kind of does. I'm rambling, sorry. So the tool that I'm talking about is Trivi by Accusac, and it's free and open source and all that stuff, and it's very easy to use. I mean, you can, if you just want to test something, it's literally one command and it tests that something. If you want to integrate with other tools, and you have to kind of install it properly, maintaining database, etc. But if you just want to check something, it's very quick to do. At LYTT, we use GitLab's Ultimate Plan, so Trivi is integrated with that. So every time we run a build, because we use the auto DevOps pipeline, as soon as it builds the container, it would also test the container to see which vulnerabilities it found out. It can do more than just scan Docker images. So if you have Ruby gems, Python packages as well, I think for Node, it can check for that as well. I know there are other tools. Why not use both? So just a non-live demo. So yesterday, I ran this test against the Python image. 930 identified vulnerabilities. 25 of them critical. And then I ran the same thing against the Alpine version, and I got like 0. Like, guess which one is based on Debian? It's not the one that says Alpine. There's some bias in here. So I didn't upgrade. One thing that I could have done, I could have downloaded the image, run a container, upgrade all the packages, and run the test again. I purposely did not do that because I really wanted to show if you just pick up this image because you think this is the right thing to do, right? It's provided by upstream, so it should be okay. It's not. So this leads me to a couple of closing thoughts. So although we may love Debian and we think it's probably the most important Linux distribution around, test stuff. Test if it's actually secure for your standards, because you might not need to be this secure. But if an auditor is coming in, you have to. And then you can choose a distribution where you can run automated tests against. So you might love, I don't know, Arch. Maybe Arch does something like this. Maybe it doesn't. I generally don't know. But pick something where you can, especially if you're running containers. It's very easy to change from one to the other. So just use whatever. So my example, I tend to not to use OpenSUSE for whatever reason. I think OpenSUSE is lovely, but it just turns out I've never used it properly. But on my containers, SUSE works really well in terms of security-wise, so I switched to SUSE, and it didn't pain me or anything. And always test your Docker images, what you're building, and they can degrade over time. If you're running something in production, like you build it and it's fine, you put it in production, tomorrow it might not be fine. So make this a part of our CI process. Test stuff that is currently running. Some other products do this as well. I think Aquasec has some products that do this, so they keep track of the, so when you test for your container, it automatically hashes what you have there, submits to whatever database, and then it keeps track of what you have and how it degraded over time. Twistlock does that as well, but I've never used Twistlock that much. And I think one of the most important things is don't ever trust third-party Docker images, ever, because you don't know what's running there. It's fine if you want to run something on dev, just to see if you, for example, if I want to test something with, say, for example, Ruby, and I don't want to install Ruby on my machine, well, of course, I'll use the Ruby image because it really doesn't matter. But if you're running stuff in production, be very careful what you do. There's a pattern here. Don't see that much, but I've highlighted all the tests in here. So it's all about tests. So all about gaining knowledge of what you're actually doing. So like I say here, ignorance is not bliss at all. So just you'd have to know what you're running. And that's it. I think it's fairly quick.